and what a great day to sew something wonderful. I'm Kia with Kia B, and today we're going to be working on an adorable little project using our lace zippers again. I learned how to make this a few weeks ago, and once I did, yesterday I think I made 5 of them in one day. They come together so quickly. It's an adorable little zipper pouch, and I'll tell you what, I'm just absolutely loving it. In the mail about 2 weeks ago, I got Lori Holt's new book, Spelling Bee, and I absolutely love it. It is chock full of different letter patterns and small block patterns. She even gave you some bonus quilt patterns and mini quilt patterns. And so I'm going to be using one block from her book here, and then some extra materials, and we're gonna make the cutest little zipper bag. Why don't you guys come in a little closer and we'll take a look at the materials. Materials that you're gonna need for today's project are a small lace zipper. We used these in a project a few weeks ago, and so we'll link the description down below. Then you'll need one of your favorite blocks from Lori Holt's book, Spelling Bee. If you don't have her book, or you have another favorite block that you'd like to use, that's fine. You can tailor this pattern to the size of your actual block. You'll need some extra fabric, just some scrap fabric that matches your block. You'll need a fabric for lining, and then a fabric for backing. We are using this adorable panel that just has like some sewing materials on it. I think it's so cute, and it's gonna look adorable on the back of our bag. You'll need some scrap fusible heat and bond. And so just a little bit goes a very long way. You don't need more than about 3 or 4 inches by the width of your bag. And so it's a very, very small amount. And then you'll need your standard scissors, rotary cutter, cutting mat, and ruler. So let's get started on this adorable little project and take it one stitch at a time. One of the blocks that I absolutely loved in her book was this bee block. It's so cute, and so I whipped this up this morning. It's just some really simple piecing. I did the 6-inch size, and so that's what's going to be the front of our bag. So now I just need to square this up. I like to just take my Cute Cuts ruler and line it up with a seam. So I'm going to choose the top of the wing here and just square this up. And this here, this is great that we just lost that point, because, you know, a bee's nose, you don't want it to come to a point, so that's okay. And I'll just take that edge I just squared up, and I'll square up the other sides quickly. Okay, so now I've got my block all squared up. It's looking fantastic. It's measuring, let's see, just about 6.5 inches, which is fantastic. Now I want to put a 2.5-inch border all the way around with my background fabric. So I have some scrap strips of background fabric that I'll just attach to each side. Okay, so I've put my 2.5-inch border all the way around. Now you can't have a block that's wider than your zipper. So you can see that I need to take off about 1 inch on each side, which that's okay. That gives me time to really make sure that my center is straightened. So what I will do is I will line up our seam, and I know that I want the bottom of the bee to be completely straight. So what I will do is I think I'll line up my 1.5 inch mark along that bottom of the bee and trim off this excess all the way around. It's about 1/2 inch, so I want to make sure it's square, so I'll take 1/2 inch away from all the way around. Now I have my block all the way trimmed out. I actually had to end up taking a little bit more off to make sure that the zipper completely fit in. Now this is the bottom of the front of our bag, and so this is done. I can set this aside until we're ready to quilt it. Next, I need a top portion to my bag, and what I mean by that is just a small piece of fabric that I'm going to put at the top. It's no more than about 3 or 4 inches wide by the width of your block. So I'm going to actually cut out of this black checker. I think this is really, really cute. I think I picked it up a while ago actually at a sale. So I'm going to line this up and cut about, I'd say about a 4-inch wide strip by the width of my quilt block. Okay, so I have the top of my bag and the bottom of my bag, and just to kind of give you a visual, this is the front of the bag. So our zipper is actually going to go right here to join these two pieces together, and this is going to be your opening. So what we need to do to this is add our heat and bond and our inside of the bag, so our lining. I just so have happened to choose this as my lining, so I'm going to cut a second piece this exact size and a piece of heat and bond that's just slightly smaller than this piece. So I'll flip one side over, grab my heat and bond, and it actually, without even me cutting it, is the perfect size. I will go over to the iron and I'll press this. You want to use your heat and bond according to its instructions. Mine say just to lay the iron on here for a few seconds and then gradually go down. And then I'll peel off the back and I'll add this second layer onto it. That will make this be a little bit more sturdy for us and make a great top of our bag. I've got my two pieces of fabric fused together, and at this point, if you would like to, this is a great piece to add embellishments if you'd like to adorn your bag. I've made some other bags where I put some lace or ribbon at the top. On this one, I think I'm going to leave it plain. I think the lace will be a really nice accent on the bottom of this strip, so I'm just going to leave it completely plain the way I like it. The next thing we'll want to do is square this edge up to make sure it's completely straight. Okay, I can put that piece to the side as well. I'll want to bring out my B block again and add batting and backing to this. I'll pull out my lining fabric, which will be the backing to my block, and I will rough cut this very simply to be able to line this. So I'm just going to hack off a little bit here, not very much, just kind of rough cut it, not even really measuring that well. Now I'll need to make my quilt sandwich. So I've got my lining fabric, I'm going to lay that right side down. I'm going to press this out. Then I'll grab a piece of batting that's about the same size and then put my quilt block on top of it. And then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to quilt this the way that I would like it to be seen from the outside. I'm even probably going to stitch some little antennas on here just with in my quilting, probably going to stitch those on there. What I've done is, in the past, you all know how much I love straight line quilting. I've done diagonal crisscross patterns. I've done just regular straight up and down, and I've even done kind of a swirling pattern leading your eye to the middle inside. So I'm not sure what I'll do on this block. It all determines on what I feel like when I get to the sewing machine. So let's head on over there. Okay, so now I've got my quilt block and it's all quilted. I chose to echo the bee. I wanted him to stand out a little more, so I actually didn't do any quilting on the bee. I echoed him and then did some straight lines. As my husband pointed out, it looks like that's the direction that he's flying. So I really enjoyed that. So now I'm just gonna trim off the excess here. My quilt block may have shifted a little bit during quilting, so I wanna make sure and re-straighten that back out. Our next thing to do is actually attach our zipper. So as you can see, my piece of fabric here for the top that I've put the heat and bond on is definitely a little bit bigger, and that's okay. I intended that to happen. That way I have excess to trim off afterwards. So I'm going to take my zipper. Now this is a stitch on top zipper because you want to be able to see the detail of the lace. So I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and I'm just going to sew it with black thread all the way down my zipper. This will be, it'll add a cute little accent, I think. As you can see, like the lace on top of the white is already looking adorable. And then I will, from there, I will attach it to this, so it'll just be straight across here. And then I will attach this piece just underneath and top stitch on that as well. So I've already showed you kind of how I stitch on top of this zipper in a previous video. So I'm just going to stitch on top of it really quickly and I will meet you right back here. Now I have my zipper attached. I've attached it on both sides with black thread. You can't even see the stitches. When I first started using these lace zippers, I was afraid that you would be able to see the stitches within these little flower lace parts. But you actually can't see it at all, and I'm really pleased with the outcome. So that's attached. Now we just need to square up our sides here. This is why I was okay with having a little bit of excess, because you can see that I need to trim away a little bit, and that helps me just to keep everything really, really straight. So I'm going to line it up on this side and take a little off. Make sure, and I know this from experience yesterday as I was making several of these, make sure that your zipper is on the inside of where you're cutting. Yesterday I just got ahead of myself and I cut the zipper right off and had to remove the entire thing. I was not happy. The next thing you'll want to do is just unzip and zip your zipper a couple of times so that way you make sure it works all the way, and make sure if you've cut the stopper off that you don't zip it all the way off. So mine is working pretty well. I can tell you that if it doesn't, flip it over and you can kind of see, you can cut off a little bit of this excess that's hanging over the zipper, and that will kind of adjust any snags that you have. Next thing we'll want to do is pull our lining fabric out again and our backing, like the back of the bag. I chose to use this really cute little sewing fabric for the back of the bag, and so I'm going to lay that out and decide. All of these materials are kind of going different directions, so I can decide which direction I want it to go. This is going to be your measurement. The front of your bag is your measurement. You're going to want to go at least a ½ inch all the way around because you are going to quilt this, and so you want to make sure that you have excess to take off. So I'm just kind of laying this down and deciding which direction I really want this to go. I kind of like these, like especially this little orange sewing machine here, and it's got the thread and the bobbin. I think I'll probably try and fussy cut this a little bit. And it's okay that I have all this excess because I can use this for scraps later. So I think that I will cut it somewhere around there. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to cut this with my scissors, and that way I'm not cutting through 2 layers. And like I said, I'm going to cut excess all the way around, and I'm really, really rough cutting this. I am not worried about making this completely straight. So let's see, still getting it lined up here. Pretty okay on that side. Let me get rid of all this excess here. Lay it down. There we go. And I'm just going to cut some off of this side. So now this is going to be our backing. Now I'll cut in lining fabric, this bisque print. I'll cut it the same size as my backing, and I will make a quilt sandwich. So it'll be my backing with right sides down. I will baste a piece of batting to this and then lay my lining fabric right side facing me, and I'll head on over to the sewing machine and I'll meet you there, and we'll talk about maybe the pattern that I'm gonna quilt this in. So the back of this bag is a really great time to use all of those stitches on your sewing machine that you don't typically use, or some free motion quilting, or even some straight line quilting. I really like the idea of a bee kind of buzzing. I mean, you've seen our logo, you can tell I really like that idea. And there was even some little swirls and things in the back of this. And so I kind of wanted to run with that, but I don't necessarily want to do any free motion quilting on this piece. And so I'm going to use one of the stitches on my opal that I never use, and I think I will really like. So what I've done is I've just taken some scrap fabric and I've just tested some stitches, some kind of swirly things to do here. And I've chosen kind of this really long kind of wave. And so I'm gonna go and just kind of do that all over the back of this bag. You'll want to just choose something that kind of speaks to you. Go with how you think your bag feels, and choose a really nice quilting pattern. I think I really like it. Some of it kind of got this wave texture, some of it kind of got like a little hourglass texture. I really, really like this. So let's take it over, cut it up, and I'll show you how to attach it to the front of your bag. Okay, so like I said, I've got all my quilting done. I really like the wavy line. It really accents some of the swirls in the fabric, and it kind of nods to the front of the bag and the bee. So what I did is I cut this piece really wide. You saw me cut it about half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, all the way around. I cut this lining piece to be almost exact, and so I'm going to use the front of my bag just again to check and make sure, and you can see that I mean it's dead on. So I'm going to straighten up one side of this. And it is a little bit longer than my ruler. That's okay. And I'm going to cheat and use the plaid lines to kind of help me make sure that it's straightened out as well. Now with only one side cut, I'm going to flip it back over. Make sure that I'm still straight. And the reason I picked this is because I really liked this orange sewing machine. So I just want to make sure it's going to fall nicely somewhere on the back of my bag. And it is. So what I will do next is just kind of eyeball where I need to cut it, and kind of use this as a pattern actually. I know, you know, I could probably measure it and make more precise cuts, but I want to make sure that not only do I get it straight, but that I'm lined up as well. So I'll line up the edge that I've already cut of the backing to make sure that it's straight with the edge of my bag here. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this side off here. I'm going to cut on the opposite side of my bag because I want to make sure that I don't accidentally cut that. I'm actually going to cut on the opposite side here, just like that, and it still lines up kind of perfectly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the bag this way, this direction a little more, so that I can see where I need to cut while still making sure that it's straight. So now this is the back of my bag here, and this is the lining. So I'm going to want to put lining face up, your backing down. Then I'm going to want to grab the top of my bag with the block facing you, the lining facing inward. So you're going to have lining touching lining. I'm going to line these two up. Now I use binding clips and I'm going to pin all the way around my bag to kind of hold this together. Then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine, and with a 1/4 inch seam, I'm going to sew on the outside of my bag, leaving a raw edge. That's intentional because we're going to finish with a really nice binding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to binding clip this all the way around. Then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around my bag. Air almost closer to 1/8 inch, and that way you know that as you're doing your binding, you're not going to see that stitch line. So right over your zipper, just be careful. I know that right here I've got a stopper, and so I don't want that to hit my needle and break it. And then when we come back, we'll talk about binding colors, and we'll get the binding on and our bag will be finished. So we have sewn all the way around with a 1/4 inch, airing almost to 1/8 inch. That way you don't have as much bulk when you do your binding. And I chose a bright yellow for my binding and have already put it on. And it looks fantastic. I absolutely love this. I actually took the same fabric that I made the little bumblebee's body out of and used that as a binding. We've got our working zipper here, which is super nice. So then you've got kind of we did the checkered binding, or the checkered lining inside, and as you look down, there are no raw edges other than what's on the zipper right here. Now on the back, we chose to do the sewing machine fabric with like a little couple of sewing notions on there, and the binding worked really well with that as well. I think this turned out really cute, and I can actually just kind of toss on the go, toss my rotary cutter, toss my scissors, maybe toss some extra little things from my sewing machine, and zip it up and throw it in the bag. I'm absolutely loving this little bag. Now we have modified this. FatQuarterShop.com has a free pattern on their website that is a little bit smaller, and you actually piece together some, I think they use mini charm squares, and so I kind of took that idea and kind of ran with this using a block from Lori Holt's new book, Spelling Bee. I love that this pattern is so versatile. Like I said, Fat Quarter Shop has a free pattern on their page that makes kind of a different size and a different pattern and layout. You can absolutely do this any way that you'd like. If you have extra, everybody has extra quilt blocks that they maybe didn't fit into their quilt, and so that's kind of how we came up with the bee. Fat Quarter Shop uses mini charm squares, and so it's definitely like you lay these out. I'm trying to remember the pattern exactly, but you can head over to their website and print that out if you'd like. And so this is one I just haven't put the binding on yet, but think outside the box as well. I think I've told you before that our 2-year-old has special needs, and he actually with those special needs has epilepsy as well, and so we always have to carry around medication and different shots for him just in case. And so I kind of took this layout. I made kind of, you know, the medical sign here, and then added a zipper. Now this is just a regular sew-in zipper, and then when you open it on the inside, it's kind of got his medical information, an extra diaper, and his shots in there. And so think outside the box. This is fantastic if you know somebody in your life who just really needs them. Bless them with this. This is so simple. I used 2.5 inch squares to kind of lay this out, and then put a red checkered backing. This is bright in my purse, so I know, or anybody who's with me knows, they can grab my purse. This is bright. Grab it out, grab what we need to be able to help him. So you could add a strap to this if you needed to, or anything. This is fantastic. This pattern is just so versatile. Thank you so much for joining us in the Hive today. I have missed sewing with you all, and I'm so glad that we were able to sew this little zipper bag today. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. We love hearing from you. I love to see pictures of the things that you make. So make sure you hashtag KiaB on Instagram and post a picture of the beautiful bags that you all make. I hope you have a great week. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below, and we will stitch with you next time in the hive. Thanks. Have a great day.